Hello, I'm Father Joe Roesch of the Marian Fathers of the Immaculate Conception. Thank you for joining us as we continue with our year-long journey, reading the diary of St. Maria Faustina Kowalska from beginning to end. Today we take up from where we left off, beginning with diary entry number 577. Once, when my confessor told me to say, "Glory be to the Father," as my penance, it took me a very long time, and I began many times, but did not finish, because my spirit became united with God, and I could not stick to the prayer. Quite frequently, I am unwittingly enveloped by God's omnipotence and become entirely plunged in Him through love, and then I do not know what is going on around me. When I told my confessor that this short prayer often takes very much of my time, and that sometimes I cannot even finish it, he told me to say it right away there at the confessional. However, my spirit became immersed in God, and in spite of my efforts, I could not think as I wished. And so the confessor said, "Please, repeat after me." I repeated every word, but while I was pronouncing each word, my spirit would be steeped in the person I was naming. On one occasion, Jesus told me, concerning a certain priest, probably Father Sopochko, that these present years would be the adornment of his priestly life. The days of suffering always seem longer, but they too will pass, though they pass so slowly that it seems they are moving backwards. However, the end is near, and then will come endless and inconceivable joy. Eternity. Who can understand this one word, which comes from you, O incomprehensible God, this one word, eternity? I know that the graces given me by God are often meant exclusively for certain souls. Awareness of this fills me with great joy. I always rejoice at the good of other souls as if it were my own. On a certain occasion, the Lord said to me, "I am more deeply wounded by the small imperfections of chosen souls than by the sins of those living in the world." It made me very sad that chosen souls make Jesus suffer. And Jesus told me, "These little imperfections are not all. I will reveal to you a secret of my heart. What I suffer from chosen souls, ingratitude in return for so many graces, is my heart's constant food on the part of such a chosen soul. Their love is lukewarm, and my heart cannot bear it. These souls force me to reject them. Others distrust my goodness and have no desire to experience that sweet intimacy in their own hearts, but go in search of me off in the distance, and do not find me. This distrust of my goodness hurts me very much. If my death has not convinced you of my love, what will? Often a soul wounds me mortally, and then no one can comfort me. They use my graces to offend me. There are souls who despise my graces as well as all the proofs of my love. They do not wish to hear my call, but proceed into the abyss of hell. The loss of these souls plunges me into deadly sorrow. God though I am, I cannot help such a soul because it scorns me. Having a free will, it can spurn me or love me. You, who are the dispenser of my mercy, tell all the world about my goodness, and thus you will comfort my heart. I will tell you most when you converse with me in the depths of your heart. Here no one can disturb my actions. Here I rest as in a garden enclosed. The interior of my soul is like a large and magnificent world in which God and I live. Except for God, no one is allowed there. At the beginning of this life with God, I was dazzled and overcome with awe. His radiance blinded me, and I thought he was not in my heart. And yet those were the moments when God was working in my soul. Love was becoming purer and stronger, and the Lord brought my will into the closest union with his own holy will. No one will understand what I experience in that splendid palace of my soul, where I abide constantly with my beloved. No exterior thing hinders my union with God. Even if I used the most forceful words, they would not express even a shadow of how my soul revels in happiness and inexplicable love, as great and pure as the spring from which it flows. That is, God himself. My spirit is so pervaded with God that I feel it physically, and the body partakes of these joys. Although it happens that God's touch varies in the same soul, it comes, however, from the same source. St. Faustina writes about her difficulties saying the prayer, "Glory be to the Father," when she receives it as a penance. How many times have we said that prayer mindlessly? Yet when Faustina prays it, she becomes immersed in contemplation of the glory of the three persons of the Blessed Trinity. It makes me think of how I say Mass each day, but I can sometimes get distracted. But when St. Padre Pio said Mass, he could be caught up in an ecstasy like he was in heaven. How important that we pray with mindfulness. Jesus told Faustina that Father Sopoćko was reaching the highest point of his priesthood, his priestly life on earth, because of the suffering that he endured. After this life, the joy of heaven is forever. St. Faustina tries to understand that word, eternity. We can't understand it completely from our earthly perspective. Jesus reveals how deeply hurt he is by the ingratitude of chosen souls, consecrated souls, how so many take his love for granted. Let's love Jesus in reparation for those who hurt him. Then Jesus speaks of his conversations with St. Faustina in the depths of her heart, and she speaks of the interior of her soul as a large and magnificent world in which she lives with God alone. Nothing can disturb this inner sanctum. It is like a palace. We can all discover this interior world if we welcome God into our hearts and speak to him there.